Hi, thanks so much for tuning in to Mom Boss Chronicles. My name is Jen.
This is Sue.
And this is Danielle.
We are three moms that work together in real estate and are good friends, and here to talk to you about fun topics, the good, the bad, the ugly of mom struggles, real estate, and other fun stuff. So make sure to subscribe to listen to more.
This week we are talking about Jen Mawson, one of our mom boss. She wrote a chapter in a book called Magnificently Made, and we're focusing on how Jen moved, what was it,
Seven times in 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah, and she wrote a chapter in this anthology book, and it's called Making Moves. So she's going to tell us all about that, how it led them to follow their real estate dreams, really.
Yes.
So do you want to kind of jump in on that?
Sure.
Jen?
I am really excited. I'm part of this book. It features 33 chapters, and it's from women, and it's about all different stories of life. And my chapter is the first section, and it's about dreamers. And my chapter is about how my husband and I decided to move around a lot. My son was born in 2015, and when he was born, we, at that time, were renting, but we had dreams of like owning real estate. And not just one house, we wanted to own more than one. But to get to that, position to be able to be a real estate investor with multi, homes that we had to make some big moves. So if you want to have an excerpt from the chapter that I could read.
To hear
That would be great.
Awesome. And then we can, go through questions and stuff. But this is like an excerpt from it. So I remember once reading a quote, "Life begins outside of your comfort zone." It definitely resonated with me. Something about it spoke to my soul, and it ended up being the mantra for the story you're about to read. It is my hope that you find your life begins outside your comfort zone as well. Our journey outside our comfort zone began when my son was born in November of 2015. We yearned to set ourselves up for financial stability so we could provide him with everything he needed and more. Together, my husband and I always had big dreams of becoming successful real estate investors, but didn't even own one property at the time. We worked as real estate agents for a living and were recovering from the real estate crash of 2008. We would daydream about the homes we would buy, the locations where we would like to own said homes, and of course fantasize about the way we would design them. We were HGTV junkies and had such big dreams thanks to Chip and Joanna Gaines. So after our son was born, we made the conscious decision to follow our dreams through for him. We had no idea how this was going to work out exactly, but we knew if we had any shot at making it work, we had to make some bold moves.
Bold moves.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember meeting you in it was probably 2017, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you guys were renovating your
A house.
property on 6th.
Yeah.
If you want to
Sure.
tell us about that or about where it started.
Yeah. So, my husband and I have been doing real estate since 2007. So when we started, obviously the market was in a declining area. Mm-hmm. And even at that time, we had the itch to we always loved real estate. That's why we got into it. And I remember I met my husband in college and we were going to move in together. He lived in Atlantic City. I lived in Old Bridge. Mm-hmm. That was a long commute for each other. And I remember being like, let's just rent. Like, let's get a cute place in Belmont. Yeah. And Gary was always like, no, I want to buy something. And it was frustrating because, we were young. And I'm like, what do you want to buy? Like, let's just rent.
Right.
But he was, right? He was very much in the, mind level of we have to own real estate. So we did end up buying a condo in Jackson because that's all we could really afford was, a small condo in Jackson. And no offense, Jackson. I love Jackson, but for us at 20-something years old, I just felt so removed.
Well, there's not much going on around there.
I always wanted to live in the city, and Gary didn't. But
true Gemini.
Yes. So we're in Jackson, and we did try. We bought something, and then we used that property. We took a equity line of credit, and we bought other real estate, and we did a flip, and we did really good with it in Lacey, and that was great. And then Gary bought another property in Bayonne. And unfortunately, this was around, 2009 or 2010, and the market is definitely declining. So unfortunately, we lost money on that. And it's just a matter of timing was bad and also research. We didn't really know that market.
Right.
Yeah.
We got into a market we didn't know.
What was the situation with that house?
It was
were you flipping it? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so good question. So it was short sale.
Yeah.
So I think because at that time you thought, short sale means a good deal.
Right.
Without really looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we know you got to look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And the numbers, when you look at it, even back then, I remember looking at it real quickly. I think he said he was buying it for $350, and I went on Zillow Realtor.com real quickly, and I was like, oh no, there's other homes that are selling less than that or close to that number, and you guys are going to put money into it. So I was nervous, but obviously I wanted to give him that space to, grow. If he wanted to invest, I wanted to be supportive. I love real estate. I love taking chances on things.
Yeah.
So I was super supportive of it, but it didn't work
That's
out.
how you learn, though,
Right?
Look forward.
Yes. We were in our 20s. It definitely hurt, right? Gary had to short sale that property. Since we over leveraged our condo in Jackson, we had to short sale that too. So that was definitely a burn moment. And then we couldn't get a mortgage because when you short sale a property, you're like kind of in mortgage jail for a while.
Okay.
So from there, though, thankfully we handled it in stride. It sucked. But like I said, Jackson wasn't my end all be all goal. I didn't love living in the middle of the woods for myself. And at that time, Asbury was becoming popular and the beach was becoming popular. And we had a friend who lived in Avon by the sea, and we found a rental. So in 2010, we were so lucky. We found this adorable rental in Avon by the sea, and we just started recovering. And we still were working really hard in real estate. We were starting to do really well. But from 2010 to 2016, it's crazy, right? Like I said, how we just moved 7 times in 5 years. But for 6 years, we lived in this rental.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Before we even had kids, we were in this rental, but this location was so sweet. We were
Gosh,
Yeah, that was probably a lot of fun.
right? It was so sweet. We would walk to happy hours and
Yeah.
we could walk to Belmar. We could bike to Asbury. It was great. We loved it. We loved it. We loved it. But we realized we were getting really comfortable there. So 2015 was coming along and we were out of the mortgage jail. And we're like, what are we doing? We should maximize. We have always said we wanted to get back into real estate and we're just sitting comfortable here in our house. And I think it was my son. He was just like, all right, now we're really a family. We're a unit. How are we going to build our future?
He was the catalyst.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like children can bring such blessings and he brought that clarity to us.
Yes.
And we didn't have much money, but thankfully I had some money. Lauren, somebody I used to work with, I love that he taught me at a young age to always set aside some money to put in mutual funds. So it was a small amount, I think $100 every month, but I started doing this when I was 24. So here I was, at 33 and I had some money saved from doing this.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And an opportunity presented itself to buy a flip. And we ran the numbers, and the numbers are good. And we were really confident about it, and we bought the flip, and we did make money from the flip. I think we made like 40 or 50,000.
Wow.
And we were so excited. And, my son he was just born, and we're like, okay, now what do we do? So 2 things could have happened. We could have bought one house, right? One house, we could have just bought one house and moved in and just been done, right? Problem solved. We had money for a down payment. But we were crazy. And we're like, we want to maximize.
Dreamers.
Right? We were dreamers. And we're like, we want to maximize this. How do we leverage this to be more? And that's when we decided to buy 2 bad houses.
Okay.
Yeah. We bought a 2-family that was in, definitely needed a lot of repair. And we bought a single family that was in need of a lot of repair. The 2-family, thankfully, even though it was in need of repair, it did have tenants in place, so we didn't have to touch it right away. So we're like, let's buy this. It's a good investment for now. We know it's going to need money, but for now, let's just let that sit. And let's focus on this single family and we loved location, but Avon's very expensive. So we couldn't stay in Avon, but we didn't want to go too far. So we found a house a mile away. So we bought this house, and definitely, if you looked at it, it was so sad.
Mm-hmm.
I remember driving my parents by there.
Mm-hmm. They were probably like, no, Jennifer.
I love to say my parents are very supportive. I'm sure in their mind, they were like, don't do this.
Yeah.
But I remember Mom saying this, and I love that she even said it. She is from Brooklyn, and when her and my dad were looking at houses, they decided to buy a house in Jersey because she wanted the yard and she wanted the good school system. And she said, if I had brought my parents to the house in Jersey, I don't think they would have loved it either.
Right.
Because we bought a fixer-upper. She's like, but that's what our budget could afford. And she's like, and I didn't want to say anything to you because if that was your dream, who am I to stop you? And I love that, right? I love that she didn't influence me.
Yeah, she's
Right? Because I get it. Parents out there are trying to protect you.
Yeah.
So they don't want to see you buy a money pit.
Mm-hmm.
But we definitely bought a home that was scary.
Gotta buy the ugliest house on the block.
Definitely ugly and scary. But we made it look really good. And then you'll read in the chapter, it's wild because it was such a labor of love. We had to maximize, like I said, every dollar. And everything had to be done to this house. The kitchen, the bathroom, the floors. So that meant some projects Gary and I were doing ourselves.
Right.
And that meant in the winter, I remember painting in the cold bookshelves. And I remember me and my dad even painting our bedroom.
Didn't you paint the outside yourself
Yes,
too?
my mom got on the ladder and painted the outside, because our money would only get us so far, and then the rest of the projects we had to do.
Truly a labor of love.
And a family of love, right? My
Right.
parents helped me, and it's just wild because as we were wrapping that house up, as it was becoming good inside and outside, the market went up and prices were up, and Gary and I were like, let's move.
Yep.
And the wild thing about this house, if anybody's listening, my parents ended up now own this house.
It is the Neptune house.
Yes.
Oh, that's so amazing.
We bought that house in 2016, and then we sold it in 2018, made a profit, And then that owner kept doing more amazing stuff to the outside. And then my parents just bought it in 2022.
Funny.
So
It
cute.
was
I love that
amazing.
house.
And my parents like, I remember painting the outside in the bedroom. But with that profit, we had to maximize that too. So then we ended up buying another 2-family. And then, so that's why we moved so much. We moved because we were like, how do we take this profit and how do we then make this work for us? So trust me, it is not easy moving with a child. Like, it was hard. And some of the interim moves had to be my parents' house. That's why it's 7 times. Because when we moved out of our rental, the house that we were renovating, it wasn't ready yet.
Right.
So we had to be out of the rental. And like I said, we had to maximize every dollar. We couldn't afford making that monthly rent payment and paying for the new house. Thank God for my parents. They let us move in to their house. So it was me, Gary, and my son living in my high school bedroom.
And then you would also move into your 2-family.
Yes, to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually that first 2-family that I said we bought, that needed work.
Right.
The tenant moved out. And to make that work and to maximize every dollar, Gary and I were like, well, we have to live here. We can't afford to pay rent and fix it.
Like it's like what's considered house hacking.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
I was going to say, not only did you need to sell the home you were living in for the profit, but also for people who don't know much about real estate, if you're planning on living in the home that you're purchasing, you don't have to put as much money down.
Yes.
So instead of 25% down as an investment, you could put as little as 3%
Because it's an owner occupant.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
How we bought we bought a 2-family in West Belmar that way. Our plan was to live in the downstairs unit because that downstairs unit was it was a good size. It was, I think 1,000 square feet, which is good size because compared to the upstairs, it's like 600 square feet. And the downstairs tenant told us they were moving out, but then they didn't.
Oh no.
So we were stuck with the small one. But that's okay. You had to roll with it, right? So thankfully, Gary and I, there were definitely times where I sat and I cried and I was like, oh my gosh, like as we're doing this, our friends are buying homes. Our friends are, buying the beautiful yards, and it was such shiny objects. It would have been nice to have stopped in the middle to be like, I'm done, and I just want to buy our house. But we knew that there was a bigger end game to it, and through each renovation that we did, we learned more. Gary got, he doesn't like doing the projects anymore himself. Now he wants to hire out. He's tired, and so am I. The painting's not fun.
Oh, yeah.
But now we know what it takes.
Right.
Now we have a good eye for things. And I'm so grateful that we both had that same vision, and our children were definitely our catalyst to want to even go further.
And you also exposed your children to that too, I think, which is really nice for them to see how hard mom and dad have worked to, to provide for the family, and then also maybe set them up for something they may be interested in for their future.
Totally. Like, as I feel
smart decisions too with your money.
And just chasing dreams, right? Like, our dream was the real estate. That was the big why. Why are we doing this? Yes, money, absolutely, for the financial stability, but also why we love real estate.
Yeah.
And it's been so satisfying, as my son has been into saying lately.
My son does that
right?
too.
I don't know if it's a YouTube thing.
Yeah, it's got to be. Oh, that's satisfying. That noise, it's satisfying.
Uh-huh. But it is satisfying to get a dilapidated house and to see it come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It has been beautiful.
Not everybody has vision like that too.
Yeah.
Or the patience.
Yeah, well, I
Takes
can't even
a lot
imagine.
of patience.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool, and it's even satisfying for us as now landlords. So we do own a couple of multifamilies. We own an Airbnb in Jersey and then in Florida. But it's satisfying for us as landlords to be look at what we can provide for people.
Right.
Like, we want to give the best product.
Definitely.
So we want to
not
make it
slumlords.
Yes, we want to make it nice, and it's just been satisfying. And it's interesting because each move we've made, we end up living in one of our 2 families. But it's good because when we're there, we're like, oh, we didn't realize that.
You can see,
Yep.
right.
The windows needed to be done. Like, they really should get done.
Yeah.
Or the plumbing, the bathroom, really, like, obviously when you're renting it, you're not living in it. But us living in it forced us to confront some things that we thought we could ignore and make it even better. So.
Right. And then your latest project.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So when I wrote this chapter 2, I was in the middle of going through this. We moved again, right? So I wrote this book, and as I'm finalizing this chapter, Gary and I sold our home.
Which you in Shark River Hills.
Yes.
Which you guys bought and renovated.
That house was disgusting.
Oh my God.
I saw those pictures in the beginning. My God.
I went in with them, and it was so gross.
I remember you telling me about that.
It was a short sale also. And Danielle came in with us, and they were avid smokers.
Yes, like smokers, hoarders.
That took like 6 dumpsters, literally, worth of stuff to remove. And the smoke smell, we had to clean the ducts, clean the furnace, obviously paint everything, redo all the floors. And it's funny because they still left a bunch of stuff in the attic that we eventually got to. It was like another dumpster worth of stuff. So there was so much stuff everywhere. but it was a good deal.
It was beautiful when you're done with it.
Right? And it's one of those homes that people looked at, they would run away. But Gary and I were like, no, this is a good neighborhood.
Head on.
Yep, it has good bones. The house did have good bones. It had good space. And we did it. And I'm happy we did it because we were able to make a profit. And thankfully, through each renovation, we've had more vision, right?
Yeah.
So every home that we've done, we've always maintained renovating within the walls. And the latest project we did, we got crazy. We're like, we like the lot, we like the location, but let's blow this house up bigger to make it what we want. So that was definitely the biggest and toughest and most challenging and stressful, but the most rewarding yet to do. We literally took a cape and we expanded on the back even. We made it even bigger on the back end and we went up. So we took a cape and we made it a colonial, so it's 3 levels now. And that was a lot.
And you knocked it down, basically.
Pretty much
you
left
kept
one wall.
Right?
And we completely redefined it. We made, instead of 8-foot ceilings, we made 9-foot ceilings.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. And that was fun to be a part of that process.
Did you, when you first like drove past that house and the lot and everything, like, did you automatically have the vision in your head of like what you wanted to see sitting there?
Yes.
Or, okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my husband has that vision too. Well,
Yep.
I will say with this one, he said the lot was too small because he would love, I think, a pool, and so would I.
Yeah.
Right.
And this lot is a little bit smaller, but location was so sweet.
Right.
Well,
For
the
anyone who,
funny-
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the funny thing is I remember a couple years ago, this was probably pre-COVID, I think, you wanted to buy the house next door.
Yes.
It was for sale and they didn't get it, and she was so upset about it. And it was funny because I had shown it to a client and I hated it.
Oh, that's funny. But I
The
love
location. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved exactly. There was a house, and instead of buying, like we put an offer on that one, we didn't get it, so we ended up getting the short sale. That was the smoker smell. So it's funny how it comes full circle. We ended up buying the house next door because of the location.
Yeah, well, if anyone who doesn't know, Shark River Hills area of Neptune is super desirable. It's very cute. You're near the water, and
Yeah, it's a
so
cute
if you don't
little
have a
neighborhood.
pool, it's not the end of the world because you have the river right by you and you're at the beach.
Yeah.
fairly quickly.
So like, doing that project was the biggest one to date, and it was definitely stressful because we sold our house in October. And we moved into our 2-family, and thankfully and then that, it all worked out. I'm very grateful because otherwise we would have had to rent and figure out a lease with somebody else. And even, in Jersey Shore where we are, there's such things as winter rentals. You could do up until May. You could do September to May. But we ended up, unfortunately, the project went over. We ended up going into July.
Right.
But it was our 2-family, so it was fine. We were living there. And thank God we had that option. But it's anybody who renovates homes and goes through it knows that there's points of it where you think it's going to go faster or you visioned it to go a certain way and the plan goes left, or prices ever since COVID.
Yeah.
Prices have gone crazy
It's like hard to track. It's variable.
And it's been stressful. But I think Gary gets a lot of like joy from doing. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think he likes seeing the puzzle, and I like seeing it too. It's as stressful as it is. It's no pressure, no diamonds. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying. I mean, diamonds are built under pressure. So
It really turned out so beautiful. And I said to Jen and Gary before they even moved in, I'm like, all right, when are you guys moving in?
yeah. So we just literally moved into the house, but
Time to move out.
I know. When we look at the numbers, there is equity. But where are we going? And this is funny, right? I said life begins out of the comfort zone in that quote. We've gotten so comfortable getting uncomfortable, like with moving. Now we have to get uncomfortable with sitting still.
Right.
That's an interesting turn of events, huh?
Right? We're so comfortable with being like, let's just pack it up and take that.
Yeah, and knowing that there's equity and you can do more with it, but at what point are you staying still?
Right.
Like,
Now
all right,
to
the
get
kids
comfortable with sitting still. And it's a weird feeling,
I'm sure.
but beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I love my son. He's 7, and I feel like he deserves that, stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there comes a point, right? Especially with the kids where, feels a little bit better for them to have the same bedroom,
Yes,
for a longer period of
Yes.
time.
Yeah. And like moving to grandma's house for a little bit was fun, but
Right.
It's nice that you were able to keep him in the same school district.
Yes,
though.
we are. Like anything that we have done, we have moved within like a mile or 2 from where we are.
Right.
So thankfully, yes, his schooling hasn't changed as much as we've moved. He's been okay with that, so that's been good.
Yeah.
So, but it's been awesome and stressful, but I'm just so grateful that we went after our dreams. And this is just the tipping of the iceberg. Now we have more experience, more knowledge, and more ability to keep going with following through with our real estate dreams, which makes us really excited.
Totally. And it's also on top of these, the moves that you've made in the homes you've lived in, you've also done other real estate projects.
Yes. And we've done a flip together.
Yeah.
Danielle and I and Gary own a commercial building together. Sue and Gary and I are doing an at a level. So it has given us that opportunity to like keep doing projects. Yeah.
Education.
Yeah.
Like we learn right along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm selfishly getting to learn, along the way from you guys too. So
yeah. And you learn by doing, right? And it's crazy because if Gary and I sat down back when we were talking about doing this, and that's like any dream you follow, you're not going to have all the details. You don't know what step like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to look like exactly.
Right.
I just knew what step 10 was going to be, like what I wanted to get to.
Like you had the vision.
Yeah.
Like you had the visual in your head on a daily basis.
But if I would have stopped and obsessed, and I think that's where people get held up on, like stopping to obsess over the detail.
Right.
But after I take step 1, then what will happen at step 2? And after step 2, what will happen at step 3? And I get that because it's scary, especially with kids. And there was definitely times where I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? But you have to keep your vision, and you have to realize, I've heard a saying too, like take the leap and build your wings on the way down.
Yes. Yeah. My mom used to say, jump and the net appears.
Right.
But I was going to say, like, what, I guess, and that's great information and advice to share with anyone who may be thinking about doing the same. I think obviously we all know this and we want to share with everybody that real estate is a great way to build your net worth, and it is scary, but the outcome of it can be really big. I guess, what would you share in addition to what you just said advice wise about people who are looking to house hack? Like what, I don't know.
I love house hacking. Yeah.
What to kind of shy away from in terms of like crunching numbers. Like, is there a calculator to follow, or like any information like that to share with our listeners?
House hacking is a term that I heard from Bigger Pockets podcast. I love that podcast. I used to listen to it avidly, and I think they coined that term, house hacking, and I love it. And basically what that means is you buy a home, you put it in your name, you qualify, you get the mortgage, and you somehow are able to gain money through other means of the home, whether that be that you rent rooms, to a friend, or you buy a 2-family and you rent one side of the unit. And I've even heard of people house hacking their garage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, let's say you buy a home in a downtown area and you have a garage. Maybe you
rent your garage.
Right?
Storage or...
Yes. You can house hack in different ways. You can even house hack if you do Airbnb and you want to rent a room out. You maybe in the summer, if you live by the beach and you have a separate entrance and you want to house hack that. It's a way to look at your home and be like, okay, how can I generate income from this property so that the burden of the monthly cost is subsided in other ways? And I feel like if you are young, it's scary, or even if you're not young, whatever age you are. I know the interest rates are high. I know payments are scary. Taxes in Jersey are crazy high. You have to sometimes house hack to get ahead.
Right.
So and I know people who have house hacked where they have friends move in, and they're like, I know it's not going to be permanent, but I know for a year or two my friend is going to be here for a job, so I offered him a room and it was a benefit, right? Win-win, because the friend gets a room. Rent's expensive,
right?
And maybe the friend gets a room for under $1,000. You get that money to help pay your mortgage,
right?
So it could be a win-win for two people. And I know you helped a client of ours, but they were a group of friends, right? And they bought a 2-family.
Yep.
And then they lived in it, right? So that they were house hacking it. A group of friends went in on an investment.
Yep.
They lived there.
Right.
Their expenses were down.
Yeah, if you can live in one unit, rent the other unit out to cover, part of your mortgage, I think that's such a great option for young people or anyone. But if I could go back in time.
Told me that. Exactly. I really do. I even, granted, I love my house and it brought me to you. But if I could do it all over again, I really wish I would have bought a 2-family to like live in.
No one tells you that.
No,
I know.
No.
That's my biggest advice I give my cousins. I have cousins who are 19 and in their 20s. I'm like, buy the 2-family, because they see that we do real estate. I'm like, buy that 2-family.
Yeah, or a condo or whatever, or a single family home, and have your friends move in. Like you said, have your friends move in. That's
totally
the same thing I'm telling all the young.
That's what I've been telling my stepson. He just got his first job this summer. He's turning 15 this weekend, and he's like, I have $3,000 saved. I'm gonna go to Colorado this winter and snowboard, or should I save it for a car? I'm like, you should save it for a house, for a down payment on a house, because you're going to blink your eye and you're going to be 20 or 18 or whatever, and you want to move out, and how are you going to
And I would say to those 20-year-olds too, because when you're 20, you're like, it's so easy to just rent. And how many of your friends are renting? If you buy that house, I'm sure you have a friend or two who would move in with you.
Oh, for sure.
So just do it. Be the first one to do it, because
And you don't, I think a common misconception too, especially with young people and even, older folks are around our age too, is that you think you need 20% down and you don't.
No, especially as an owner occupant, like you were saying. You could buy a 2-family for 3.5%. You can even buy, I think, a 2-family if you're a veteran VA loan.
Yep.
So if you're a veteran, definitely take advantage of that. Buy that 2-family and live there for 2 years. And so this is another thing Gary and I did that is another tip for people. If you live in a home for 2 years, there's no capital gains that you have to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we just did with the last home that we bought, that the smoker smell. We closed on it in February 2020. And then we bought it in February 2020 and we just sold it in October 2022. So we had lived there for 2 years.
Right.
So we didn't, and it was our primary residence. And we worked on it and did a lot of work to it. But there's no capital gains because that was our primary. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then you can take that money and then, so even if you, I tell people this too. I think I heard this from Bigger Pockets. There's a guy who talks about 3-2-1. He's like, if you can, buy the triplex, then move into the 2-family, then buy the single for yourself.
Right.
And then when you look back, you got the 3 and the 2, and then you got the single.
Yep.
So it's kind of
so it's like if you have to take 2 years of your life, where you're not exactly where you envision being,
a smaller space, because
right?
you're buying.
I was thinking about like it's like a bow, right? You're pulling back a little bit, and then you do what you got to do. It might be a little uncomfortable, and then you catapult forward.
You're creating tension,
right?
Yeah. And I say buy the ugly house, right?
Yes.
Gary and I definitely had to deal with a lot of hoarders and situations that were not fun. And it was definitely stressful with a young child. But I would use that opportunity when he was in school or daycare to clean up or paint and do what we had to do was literally sweat equity. But that was my goal and that was my vision. And, I'm happy we chased it and did it.
I give you guys so much credit because
impressive.
it's, right? Like, I mean, it's scary.
Yes. Especially when it was scary because we had invested in the market before. So sometimes things don't work out.
You didn't let that failure
Yes.
deter you from going forward. And I think that's always a good message, too, is like you get knocked down and you get back up again. And you
like Rocky.
Right.
He's like, it's not
knocked down.
And I think that's a good song, too. But Rocky says it's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get back up, right? And if we would have let that experience stop us from moving forward, because it would have been easy to stay in that rental. Loved that rental in Avon. But I was like, I can't stay in my comfort zone.
Right.
So, if you guys want to read more about the chapter, and I explained the steps and how we did it, it's in the chapter called Making Moves. And this book is really a sweet book also. Like I said, it's 33 stories, and it's all different things about people's different parts of their life.
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, same.
My section's dreamers, but there's other people who are dealing with, losing a parent or, their illnesses, lots of different things. So there's lots of inspiring stories in here.
Very cool.
And I'm just so happy and grateful I got to be a part of it. And I hope this inspires somebody to chase their dreams.
Oh,
whatever
I'm
it is.
sure. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And obviously, if anyone has questions, about anything that we discussed on this episode, please message us. We are happy to share our advice and help you realize your real estate dreams too.
Yeah. And if you guys want to copy the book, the pre-sales are happening now. The book gets released November 11th.
Oh, 11/11.
Yes, 11/11.
Yes.
Yeah, we love numbers. And
Yes.
Jen, our publisher, did that on purpose because of the numbers. But if you follow me on Instagram, I believe I'm Jen Garcia Mawson. We'll make sure to link it. But follow me, Jen Garcia Mawson on Instagram. The link is on my bio part. You'll see there if you want to get a copy of the book. You'll love all the other chapters in there as well. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome book.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh,
Jen.
thank you guys for letting me share.
Yes. All right.
All right,
We'll see you all
check you guys next week.
next.